Good morning, everyone. Sincerely want to welcome you all to another session, and I will be taking you through the principles of microeconomics. And today we are going to be looking at five important subjects. First of all, we're going to be looking at the uniqueness of microeconomics. Then we look at the relevance of microeconomics, positive and normative analysis in economics science. We would also consider the concept of economic unit. And we will round up our session by asking ourselves an important question, which is, why should you study microeconomics? However, before we start today's session, I would love to hear from you. How did you feel this morning when you woke up and you know that you're going to have microeconomics? Can you please drop your comments on the chat box? How did you feel knowing fully well that you'll be coming to class for microeconomics this morning? Thank you very much, Emmanuel. It's a Monday, and as expected, we are prepared for class. Thank you. Yes, Ojomo says intuitive, and she's wondering what this class would look like. Oh, Chiamaka feels so excited, knowing fully well she's coming for a microeconomics class this morning. Thank you very much. I would love to hear from others as well. Keep dropping your point of view on the chat box, and I'll read it as we move along. All right. So, their participants, the uniqueness of microeconomics. Microeconomics is indeed an aspect of economics, and I doubt if there are anybody who would tell me this morning that he or she has never heard about microeconomics. As we all know over time, that microeconomics is an aspect of economics as a whole. Generally speaking, we often say that economics is divided into two broad categories, microeconomics and macroeconomics. The microeconomic aspect is what we are going to examine over the next 14 weeks. And this actually focuses on the microscopic aspects or areas in any economic settings. This is often described as the most relevant, interesting, and important subject you can study. Dear participants, I can also tell you for sure that this is indeed very true. There is hardly any aspect of economics you're going to touch or you choose to focus on as a career path where you will hardly not come across microeconomics. And this is the reason why we often say that microeconomics is quite unique. And therefore, every one of you on this call should take microeconomics serious. Number one, economic agents are bound to make decisions. Hence, microeconomics is unique because it fortifies all economic agents with basic tools for decision making. As economic agents, we make series of decisions on daily basis because resources at our disposals are relatively scarce. The fundamental resources available at our disposal is time. This is just a few minutes after 10 a.m. here in Lagos, Nigeria. And I'm sure you could have chosen to be somewhere else this morning, but you chose to be in this class. This is a decision you have made. Many of us have had breakfast this morning. Either you choose to eat bread, take pap, moi moi, or even eba, as the case may be. This is also another form of decision which you have made. Some of us will probably go for one business or the other after this class. This is also another form of decision making. Decision making can also be in the short term, medium term, or over the long term. Hence, we often say that microeconomics, once you understand the principles, the techniques, and strategies that are embedded in this course, you will be fortified to make good decisions. Microeconomics is also unique because it provides us with the tools to design, formulate, and implement policies that will impact the life and well-being of citizens within our given economy. There are different decisions that individuals will always want to make. A way of institutionalizing our decisions in the interest of the entire citizens is to ensure that policies are put in place. So when you put policies in place, it ensures that it becomes a law that will be binding on every citizen. It also ensures that it becomes a rule which everybody must follow. Besides being a law or a rule, policy designs is also a way of fostering accountability amongst economic agents within a given society. Lies in its ability with the fundamental theories basis for formulating policy. And design, as well as uncertain all the reason why microeconomics is unique. Don't forget, last year you were taught the concept of scarcity. There is a difference between needs and wants, but unfortunately, The human wants are unsatiable. Hence, our quest for growth, our quest for development, our quest for all-round development equips us with the desire to look for opportunities within our given economic environment. This environment is characterized with uncertainty due to information asymmetry. As we move along in today's session, we would come across two important types of questions every student of economics must understand: positive questions and normative questions. Understanding these two types of questions provides you with a basis to evaluate uncertainties and information available at our disposal as economic agents. Hence, when you know what is or what should be, you can always predetermine the kind of analytical tools that you are going to embrace in order to identify opportunities, explore opportunities, or exploit opportunities available at your disposal with a view to maximizing your consumption, maximizing your production, or better still, maximize exchange opportunities within the economy. Building a functional economy is another reason why microeconomics is assumed to be unique. Irrespective of the knowledge of economics that you have, microeconomics remains the foundation of all economic knowledge. With microeconomics, participants will be able to make distinctions among existing economic agents. You will be able to allocate resources that matches with their respective responsibilities and roles within the economy. And once this is done, the economy is expected to function as expected because resources will be allocated, resources will be distributed, and hence consumption and production activities will be optimized. However, it is important that I let you all know that these relationships that exist amongst economic agents vis-a-vis the allocation of resources or distribution of resources isn't a linear relationship. So do not think that once the resources are allocated or distributed, it will automatically lead to a functional economy. So, having explained the uniqueness of microeconomics, why is this subject relevant even in today's 21st century? The concept of demand and supply is one of the reasons why microeconomic theories are important today. In the course of our class, as we move on, we are going to be introducing you to several theories of microeconomics. But this morning, we are to know that all the theories that we are going to put before you are very germane. And each and every one of you should underline each of these theories and reflect on it on a daily basis. Why is this theory relevant? The demand and supply, even though it has its own theory, it's also concepts that live with us on daily basis. 2 years back, each and every one of us experienced cash crunch in Nigeria. It might sound macro in nature, but the genesis was micro in nature because an economic agent took the wrong decision that influenced the supply of money negatively and consequently triggered scarcity of currency in circulation, which was far, far below the demand for currency, knowing fully well that Nigeria is a cash-based economy. In a similar manner, a tertiary education system in Nigeria today is embracing online learning options because the demand for education is fast outgrowing the supply of education in the country. Nigeria remains a young economy. So, when we talk about demand and supply, this is an interesting subject that everyone can afford to learn. Every one of us is expected to have an understanding of this theory. Another reason why understanding macroeconomics is important for us today is the impulse of decision making. We are where we are today as a nation because of the decisions we have taken or we have made in the past. And in order for us to move forward into a desired nation that we all want, the Nigeria that we all want, it's also a function of the decisions that we will make today. In other words, decisions are meant to be made regularly at every point of interaction amongst all economic agents. If you are very attentive, dear participants, I have mentioned economic agents severally. This is because microeconomics as a subject focuses attention on economic agents, whether at the individual level, whether at the state level. Economic agents is the reason for the study of microeconomics. Policy relevance is another reason why microeconomics is relevant, their participants. Unfortunately, in our own climb, we are also where we are today because we often overlook systematic evaluation of our policies. The state takes so much delight in bringing forth policies, implementing policies. And we have seen cases where policies are thrown into the trash just because a new government is in town. So, policy somersault is another area of concern for us as a nation. So, in order for us to redefine policy design, policy implementation, as well as policy evaluation, it is important that we have good understanding of microeconomics. Last week, the Department of Economics in University of Lagos hosted the International Monetary Fund. One important takeaway for me from that interaction is the need for us to prioritize experimental economics. And for us to be able to do justice to experimental economics, it is important that we do not take microeconomics for granted because policies are to be communicated, institutions are to receive feedback from the citizens in order to justify the utility of the policies being implemented. Not only that, they are participants. The implications of the policies that we are churning out also matters because microeconomics also emphasizes welfareism. So, if you have policy designed and the same policies are implemented, but we pay little or no attention to their implications on the well-being of the people, sooner or later, you would see negative reactions from the citizens, just as we witnessed in Nigeria during the end-SARS crisis. And they say no to bad governance on August 1, 2024. Finally, the relevance of microeconomic theory is also rich in applications. There are different aspects of economics, and I am very optimistic that in the course of your growth in the Department of Economics, moving from your second year to your third year and your final year, you will have the opportunity of having to go through some of these various aspects of economics? Of course, the popular ones are monetary economics, fiscal economics, development economics, health economics, energy economics, creative economics, etc. Irrespective of the type of economics or this category of economic field you do wish to venture into, their participants, you will have a taste of microeconomics because microeconomics is not only about consumption, it also speaks to production, it speaks to trade, it also speaks to some elements that are macro in nature, particularly currency exchange, international trade, and much more. So there is no field in economics you choose to venture into tomorrow that you will not come across the utility of microeconomics. Earlier on, dear participants, I mentioned that with regards to policy relevance, as young and aspiring economists, two types of questions are germane, and we should not take them for granted. These are positive and normative economics. Some textbooks have it as positive and normative analysis. For our own study, this academic session, I will refer to it as positive and normative questions. Okay? So, the big question before us now is what is positive question? What is normative question? I will start with the positive question. Right from our secondary school days up to your freshman days, you must have been told that positive questions or positive analysis deals with questions such as what is. So, just as you can see, positive questions, even though they are focused on what is, the goal behind raising positive question is to describe a concept, to provide an explanation, or to predict an economic phenomenon without an iota of personal judgment. Irrespective of the outcome, you are not expected to be carried away with emotions. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, when the subject of economics is raised, we often fail to make a distinction between positive issues and normative issues. We assume that all issues should be emotionally driven. But with our understanding of microeconomics, you will understand after this class that every economic issues can be viewed from both lenses, positive lens and the normative lens. None is better than the other, I must say. Rather, both should complement one another. Positive questions are fact-based. Either you're observing or you collect verifiable data, which you can later analyze, test the hypothesis, and come up with your own conclusion. This is the reason why the knowledge of econometrics is important for every economic student. This is not to say that every economic student must take a course in econometrics, but it is in your own interest to take up a course in econometrics. Positive questions are objective in nature. They are expected to be void of value judgments or personal opinions. I urge you to interact with our final year students who have embarked on their final year research projects. It is important that every project you embark on as an economic student must have your objective well articulated. The broad objective and the specific objectives. The reasons why we do this is to ensure that whatever you are writing are well guided by theory, by facts, and that they can be subjected to empirical analysis. The outcome of any empirical study is obviously going to be void of value judgments and personal opinion. And this is why you will be encouraged as young economic students to build requisite skills in data gathering, data analysis, because positive analysis is equivalent to empirical analysis. Finally, descriptive and predictive outcomes are essentials of positive questions. So, when you embark on this path of analysis, dear participants, the focus is what is, and that tells you that you're expected to describe, to explain, and predict expected outcomes, not through newspaper opinions, or voice populi, or even social norms. For your generation, so many things, notions are being distributed on social media. For positive analysis, you cannot make economic decisions based on what is trending on TikTok or what is trending on Instagram or Facebook, as the case may be. However, I can tell you for sure that you can raise data from all of this social media, sit down, analyze this data, and you can, on the basis of that, make economic decisions. Hence, it is important that we take positive analysis very serious. What is normative questions? This is the exact opposite of the positive question. As a way of distinction, positive focuses on what is, but normative questions focus on what should be. So, what we often say is that you can either move from what is towards what should be, or you can move from what should be towards what is. I will explain that as we move on in the session. So, what should be is also known as what ought to be. Ordinarily, ordinarily, let's ask ourselves a very simple question. When you graduate from University of Lagos, what should be your fate? That is, after graduation, I'm expected to have a job and a living. But you realize that in reality, this doesn't really add up. In many cases, you see people regretting, many young people regretting today. Oh, haven't spent 4 years in the university, one more year serving my country. I am still jobless. The next thing you hear after that is, if Nigeria were to be a good country, I should be earning a living by now. That tells us the line of thinking of normative analysis. If Nigeria were to be the Nigerian of our dream, I should be earning a living by now. If my parents were to be in the upper income level of the society, I should have paid all my school fees, year one, two, three, and four, all at once. If my father were to be Otedola, I would or I should be having my vacation every year. That is what should be. It's simply what? Normative. You don't need any data for normative analysis. Instead, opinion, value reading judgments is what normative questions focus on. And in some cases, ethical considerations, particularly with respect to economic policies and co. A very good example at hand is the tax reform bill, which our sitting president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has sent to the National Assembly. You saw the way, you saw the way leaders in the North stood up and all coming together on ethnic considerations that, that this law is dead on arrival. I mean, the bill is dead on arrival. Then, all of a sudden, the entire governors forum came together on ethical grounds that the tax reform bill, if passed into law, will make life worse for the citizens of Nigeria. These are just their opinions, their participants. No data has been collected, no modeling was built, no analysis has been done. So this is a good example that I can provide with us for us this morning with regards to normative questions. Subjective judgments. In other words, if we pass this bill into law, Nigerians will be made more miserable. This is subjective in nature, their participants. However, does this mean that normative questions are entirely bad? The big answer is no. Subjective questions are not entirely bad. Why? Because they are rich in beliefs. They are rich in cultural norms. So when you pay attention to normative questions, it helps us to have deeper insights into how our people are thinking. It helps us to have deeper insights into what is prevailing in the minds of our people. And more importantly, it helps you to see what is trending among your people. What is trending in this case? The tax reform bill is bad. Hence, hence, if the sitting government is willing to drive this tax reform bill to a logical conclusion, then one route is to prioritize the collection of tax data, analysis of tax data, and to be able to justify empirically the cause and effect relationship that exists between between taxation and the welfare of the average Nigerian citizens. So, what is before us this morning, dear participants, is for you as young ones coming up in the field of economics to be able to make clear distinctions between positive questions and normative questions. And just as I've said in the course of this class, none is better than the other. Neither is positive a question superior to normative questions, nor is our normative question superior to the positive questions. Instead, both, instead, both are meant to be complementary. So we are going to have a team exercise now, dear participants, which is going to last for about 10 minutes. And you are expected to discuss at least 3 differences between positive and normative questions. So I'm going to divide you into groups now. So each of you will have 10 minutes. And when you come back, you are to present your outcome when you come back. So what it means is that you are going to pick a representative who will come back. When you come back, your representative will now speak to the entire class what the outcome of your deliberation is. Is that okay? So I am going to divide. We have about 147. So I'm going to divide us into 14 groups of 10 members each. Simply look at your screen and click. Your room number will show on your screen. So please click on the room and join your room. The question is, what are the fundamental differences between positive and normative questions in microeconomics? So when we are back after 10 minutes, each representative has only 2 minutes to present to all of us. Thank you for listening thus far. I really appreciate you all. For those of us who are just joining, all other members have actually been distributed into their teams for this morning hands-on exercise. So I would encourage you to just hold on for others. Then we would, they will soon be back into the room. Is that okay? So please exercise some patience, okay? Thank you for your understanding. You're welcome back, dear participants. All right. Um, okay, dear participant, I have restored your right to unmute. Is that okay? So I went round all the rooms except for a few. I was able to cover 8 rooms within the time allotted. So I was in room 1 to 8. So those are the teams that will present to us this morning. Team 1, who is representing your team? The representative of Team 1. Okay, Mustafa, please unmute and make your presentation. You have less than 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. My name is Walilai Mustafa, Department of Economics. So I'm representing Team 1 for the exercise, the team exercise. So we have three main things. We have, just as the question says, we have three things, three differences that we want to give. So the first one is based on the focus of positive and normative economics. That is, what do they focus on? So we said positive questions or positive analysis, the focus is on facts that are verifiable, while normative question only focuses on views and value judgment as well as social norms. So the second heading we are looking at is the data usage. That is the usage of data. So positive questions are said to be incomplete without the usage of data. That is, it needs empirical data before it can be said to be complete. While normative statement is relevant, with or without data, because it's only opinions and are not things that are in place. So, and the third one is the nature of both. So, the difference between the nature of positive and normative economics is that positive statements are descriptive in nature and they predict outcomes, while normative economics is said to be prescriptive, as what they do is prescribe to us what could possibly be a solution to what is currently happening. So those are the things we came up with, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Team 1. Focus, data usage, and nature. These are your three catchy words for you to be able to explain the differences between positive questions and normative questions. Thank you very much. You are appreciated. Let's go to Team 2.
All right. Good morning, sir. I'm
Good
representing room two,
morning,
sir.
Paul. Yes.
I'm representing room two, sir.
All right,
So,
Paul.
so based on our rubbing our minds together, we discovered that positive economics, the questions are fact-based, focus on explaining or predicting real-world phenomenon. For example, a typical positive economics question under this should be, how does inflation impact savings? So, normative economics questions are opinion-based. They are focused on what should be done or achieved, or done to achieve a desired outcome. So basically, a good example of a question under this should be, should the government increase taxes to fund public health care? So we'll go to the next one. How, like, can we test these questions? So for sorry, give me a minute here. So for testability, questions under positive economics can be tested because they are fact-based, meaning that they are fact-based, meaning we can test them using data, evidence, and models. So example of this question should be, what happens to employment levels if the minimum wage is raised by 10%? Why normative questions cannot be tested? Because they involve value judgment. The values may be universal. Each human beings have peculiar values to them because we were all raised differently. So the next one should be, positive economics. Positive economics are objectives seeking to explain what is or what will be. For example, how do interest rate cuts affect housing prices? For under normative economics, the questions are subjective, dealing with what ought to be. So, for example, should the central banks prioritize inflation control over job creation? Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Emmanuel. That is really appreciated. Yes, so what you have also explained, I can categorize now and also nature. Team three.
All right. Good morning, sir, and good morning, my fellow participants. So we worked our findings about the differences between normative and positive
Team three,
questions.
team four.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Okay, Amos. Good morning, Amos. I can hear you.
Yes. All right. So our findings in room 3 about the 3 key differences between normative and positive questions are: 1, nature of inquiry; 2, basis for answering; and 3 is role in policy and debate. So number 1, nature of inquiry. Under positive questions, it says it deals with factual, objective, and testable aspects of reality. They focus on what is or what will be. That is, it deals with what can be tested, what can be seen, and what can be proved or proven. Then, normative question involves value, judgment, and subjective perspectives. They focus on what ought to be, that is, based on norms or how we see things, how we personally see things as they ought to be, but not what they actually are, or not what we can prove, or not what we can show for, but what we think is ought to be. Then, based on basis for answering, we have under the positive question, it says can be answered using evidence, data, and empirical analysis. For example, what is the unemployment rate? That is, when they talk about answering, positive question can show something. Like when they talk about what is the unemployment rate, it can be proven. There's analysis that can show the unemployment rate without having to guess or think how it should be in our mind, but we have something to show for it. Then when you talk about basis for answering under normative question, it says it depends on personal value, ethical consideration, or societal norms. That is, it has nothing to show for, but we can answer it based on the norms of the society, what we think, what we believe in, but then it cannot be tested or proven or shown for. Then under the role in policy and debate, it says positive questions provide a factual foundation for understanding issues and informations. That is, it provides understanding issues and information and informing decisions. Then under the normative questions, it says drive debates and discussions about policy goals, moral, and priorities. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Thank you very much, Amos. That was well loaded.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Let me take team five. No. Before team five, I actually enjoyed the conversation that was going on in team eight. You know, and there was a particular slang I heard them say that after all, maybe not just only three. We no go kill ourselves, right? Oh, yeah. Team 8, let's hear from you. Yes,
Yeah,
Temilola.
I said it.
Hold on, Giwa. Temilola, you have your hands raised up.
I wanted to be sure if we are team eight, sir.
If
I don't think
you wanted to be sure if what?
if we are team eight, sir. The real number was in 12.
Anyway, who is representing team 8?
Hi, sir. Good morning, sir.
All right, please. Good morning. Let's hear from you.
Okay, sir. So we are sorry about the slang. This is Vomayo Esther Joy from Economics Department. All right, so we're talking
Thank you,
about
Esther.
yes, sir. Talking about the differences between positive and normative questions, and I'm representing team 8. So from the main definition of positive and normative questions, we see that there's a difference between both. That is, positive questions has to do with facts and it has to do with what is. Why normative questions talks about value judgment and it has to do with what should be or what ought to be. The second, we're talking about positive questions is fact-based and it is testable. Why normative questions is subjective and opinion-driven. It describes actions based on value. Example, like positive questions talks about higher taxes reduce disposable income. Why normative question talks is that taxes should be higher to reduce inequality. I thought differences. Positive questions helps in predicting outcomes, but does not really suggest what should be done. Why normative questions help in setting up objectives and suggestion about economic policies or outcomes. So we have different example application for these positive questions and normative questions. Positive questions say that what will happen to market equilibrium if a price ceiling is imposed, while normative question says it is fair to impose price ceiling to protect consumers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Esther. So I'm going to summarize all that we have said right now. We have it in terms of area of dichotomy, area of contrast. We have focus, data usage, nature of inquiry, as well as the role in policy and debate. So what we have here is, I'm going to summarize it just as everything we have all done. You can see that we are all working on the same path. So the focus is always on what is. For normative, it is what ought to be. Nature of inquiry, there is descriptive and fact-based. For normative, it is prescriptive and value-driven. Testability can be tested and validated with data, cannot be tested or validated with data. Then the importance is also very important for policy decisions by deepening cause-effect analysis, while for normative, it simply stimulates debates and discussions around policy implications. So I also give examples, just as you all gave examples. Fantastic. Is that okay? So my own example is, what is the effect of a tax on consumers' demand? And for normative, it should the government increase taxes in order to reduce inequality in Nigeria right now? etc. Is that okay? So for all other team members, I will encourage you to, in fact, for all the 14 teams, drop your summary in our WhatsApp group. Is that okay? So finally, ladies and gentlemen, why should you take microeconomics seriously? Why? Why should you take microeconomics seriously? So basically, taking microeconomics seriously is important for several reasons. And number one reason is that it's unique in its own right. Okay, it's unique in its own right. We've discussed the basis of for uniqueness. We've discussed the basis for uniqueness, and whether we like it or not, it stands out amongst all the courses that we are offering in the field of economics. So you are encouraged to take the study of microeconomics very, very serious. Another reason is because of its relevance, particularly the thought theories that we are going to examine in the course of our study. All of these theories have their applications in diverse areas of economics. I mentioned some of them during the course of the class. Whether you're talking about you want to be an energy economist, you need basic understanding of demand and supply. If you're talking of health economics, you need basic understanding of our production theory. If you are looking at creative economics, in other words, you want to be looking at the demand and supply of artwork, entertainment industry, etc. You also need basic understanding of microeconomics. What about monetary economics, industrial economics? So, irrespective of these areas of economics that you may choose to follow as a career path, the basic understanding of microeconomics theory are very, very important. All right. Recently, we had the Nobel laureate, and you see this organizer calling it economic science now. What that tells us is that, yes, it reminded me of our argument when you guys were in year one. Is economics an art? Is economics a science? Or is economics a social sciences? Yes, we agree. Economics is an art. We agree. Economics is a science. We also agree that economics is a social sciences. Irrespective of the branch you tend to follow, you cannot run away from positive and normative analysis. Is that okay? So these are very, very, very important reasons why you and I should take economic study very, very serious. More importantly, ladies and gentlemen, the development of analytical skills is also very, very, very important. So in other words, for you to be able to grow in the field of economics, okay, you need analytical skills. You need analytical skills. You need critical thinking skills. So our explanation of positive and normative questions are meant to drive and instill in you the culture of thinking, the culture of seeking, the culture of asking, the culture of evaluating. And when you look at all of these, to seek, to ask, to evaluate, there is something still missing, which is communicating. So if you take microeconomics seriously, it will help to hone your analytical as well as communication skills. And just as I said earlier, microeconomics remains the foundation of all advanced economic studies. And if you are also going to have a better understanding of how the policy space works, how policies are formulated, how policies are implemented, and how policies should be evaluated, then you also need to take the study of microeconomics very serious. Not forgetting the fact that it is an all life matter. Microeconomics is applicable to our everyday life, whether we like it or not. it is applicable. Right from the time we wake up in the morning till the time you go back to bed at night, you practice microeconomics. So it is a course that deals with our everyday life, starting with our wants to our needs, to building our scale of preferences. I wake up, I'll do this first, I'll do this next, I'll do this next, I'll do this next. And when you quantify the resources that is available at your disposal, scarce. And yet, our demands are unsatiable. So, as an economic agent, you tend to prioritize. So, helping you to practice economics on a daily basis. And finally, it is also applicable in any career pursuit that you choose. You want to be an accountant, you want to be a banker, you want to be an investment banker, you want to be a consultant, you want to be a realtor, you want to be a policy advisor, etc. Name it, name the industry, name the profession, or whichever career path you choose to follow. Dear participants, the knowledge of microeconomics should never be taken for granted. So on this note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate each and every one of you. It's been an engaging 1 hour, 30 minutes. And so today we've actually looked at the uniqueness of microeconomics. We've talked on the relevance of microeconomic theories. We've looked at the differences between positive and normative analysis in economics. What we did not do is to look at the concept of economic units. So that's going to be an assignment for us. And finally, we've answered the question, why should you take microeconomics serious as a course of study? On this note, I want to say thank you all for your patience. Next time, God willing, by next week, Monday, we would converge, same time, 10 a.m., when we take on the next topic on the course outline. I look forward to meeting with all of you again virtually next week. Thank you, and God bless you all.